Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Wynn sitting in for Mr. J.D. Sharp, who will be back on Monday. We believe. Anyway, that's a rumor. He'll be back on Monday. Chris, thank you so much for being here. Oh, yeah, a lot to get to. You know, it's funny. I don't think I mentioned Donald Trump in hour number one.
We didn't.
No, but we have a lot to get to. And what better person to have on the line with us than our segment, of course, with Michael Avenatti. Attorney Michael Avenatti joining us right now on the line. Michael, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Gentlemen, good morning.
Well, Michael, we have a lot to get to. Let's start with, of course, all the news of the last 48 hours. I don't know what you made of Volkner's Thursday testimony. I wanted to ask you about that. And Donald Trump now invoking China into this thing, into the investigation of Biden's. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that this is the clearest example yet of the fact that, look, guys, Donald Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care what the rules are, and he doesn't care what the law is. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants to do for as long as he wants to do it until someone stops him. You know, whether that is engaging Ukraine to assist him in his campaign, engaging China openly to assist him in his campaign, lying about it, covering it up, and the like. I mean, this guy literally is going to do whatever the hell he wants to do until someone stops him, period.
Michael, aren't we to a point now where, Anthony Scaramucci mentioned how we in America now are at a point where it's, we throw an apple on the floor and Trump supporters try to tell us that it's a banana. Aren't we to a point now where it's basically like, we're throwing an orange on the floor and Trump supporters are trying to tell us it's an elephant? I mean, it's getting beyond the point of ridiculous as we take a look at what has transpired just in the past 24 hours where, Michael, you have to agree, that those people on the side of the aisle of Trump supporters and the GOP are going to try to spin this in some redonkulous way where he's not doing anything wrong and you guys are just making a huge issue about absolutely nothing when, this is pretty much cut and dry, that he is asking foreign adversaries, whether it's the Ukraine or whether it's China, to bring dirt on a American political opponent of his, and these Trump supporters are going to find a way to defend it.
Well, here's the problem, and I think I've touched on this before on the show. So it used to be, over the last 250 years in this country, that we would argue about what the facts meant or the inferences to be derived from the facts. That was the argument. Mm-hmm. There was a baseline set of facts, and people on the right would argue what those facts meant or what should happen from a policy perspective, et cetera, and people on the left would counter that. And that was the debate. But that's no longer the debate in America, gentlemen. The problem is, because of social media, because of the way that information and disinformation is disseminated now, and because we have a president who is an absolute liar and will say and do anything, we now have debates about what the facts are. We're no longer debating what the facts mean. We're now debating what the actual bright line, clear as day facts are. We're debating whether the orange is an orange versus an apple. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, frankly, where we go from here. But what I do know is this. This is a very dangerous situation. When we can't even agree on a baseline set of facts, and we have a group of individuals that will support the president of the United States, basically no matter what he does, no matter what he says, no matter what lie that he tells, provided that he remains pro-life, provided that he remains pro-gun, provided that he remains, pro-low taxes. Provided that he lines up on those three core issues, and I'm probably missing one or two others, they're fine with whatever this guy does. And, he said some time ago that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and still be elected and get away with it. And you know what? Frankly, I think there's a lot of truth to that.
I agree. There's some people out there. Yeah. It doesn't matter what he does. They could kidnap one of their kids, and they would probably still vote for Trump. I want to give people an opportunity to discuss with you this issue in regards to Donald Trump and the Ukraine. Maybe some people disagree with Michael. Maybe they disagree with me or Chris. I'll open up the phone lines now, 257-5396. Again, that number to call. We have attorney Michael Avenatti on the line, and now is your chance to give him a question or maybe a disagreement and have a debate with him. Get in the ring with him. 257-5396. That's 702-257-5396, the number to call. Michael, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this, too. Now it appears we know that Donald Trump hired several of his own personal attorneys. And the question was raised to Stephen Miller on Fox News. Why did you go that route? Why do you think Donald Trump used his own personal attorneys to try to get dirt on the Bidens, didn't go the government route? What do you say to that, Michael?
I think the reason is very clear, and that is because he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he was worried about using government lawyers because they may turn on him or may report his conduct. And he couldn't trust them to basically keep the conspiracy a secret. But look, let me address something that has been discussed a lot over the last week. You know, these folks on the right that claim that there was no quid pro quo. Well, guess what, guys? That argument just got blown out of the water within the last 24 hours with the release of these text messages. These text messages make it clear as day that there was a quid pro quo. And furthermore, there doesn't have to be a quid pro quo. The president of the United States, I don't care if it's a Democrat, an independent, a Republican, I could care less for the purposes of this discussion.
Yep.
The president of the United States cannot enlist the assistance of a foreign power to assist him politically. And this idea that Trump is now peddling this morning, that it's not about seeking political assistance, it's about ferreting out corruption. I mean, does anybody really believe that? I mean, come on. I mean, it's an absolute joke. Why is it that the only, quote, corruption, close quote, that Donald Trump was truly interested in ferreting out was that involving Joe Biden?
No, that's excellent.
That's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence that Biden was rumored to be his most significant opponent over the last 18 to 24 months, and Trump was focused on that. I mean, does anybody really believe that?
I would imagine that there might be some staunch Trump supporters and people way on the right that believe it. Why don't we go to Frank first? Let's take your phone calls at 257-5396. Michael Avenatti joining us for the hour. Frank, you're first. You're on the Vegas Take here with Michael Avenatti. What's on your mind?
Mr. Avenatti, do you officers of the court take an oath to the Constitution?
That's a good question. I think that we may take an oath to the Constitution.
You don't know if you do. Okay, I know I did. And number two, I guarantee you one of your favorite presidents currently living was good old Bubba Clinton, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think he was a winner of a president, Mr. Avenatti?
All right, well, first of all, if you're going to ask me a question, you got to let me finish. So here's what I'm going to say about Bill Clinton. I think Bill Clinton did a lot of great things for this country. I think he presided over one of the most significant economic booms in the history of the United States. I thought he brought a lot of good policy change. With that said, did I agree with his moral fabric while he was in office?
That's not where I was going.
Let me finish. You got to let me finish. Did I agree with his moral fabric and a lot of the decisions that he made from a moral perspective? Absolutely not. I thought the situation with Monica Lewinsky was terrible. Was a terrible example of judgment. I don't think he should have engaged in that conduct by any stretch of the imagination. So that's
Mr. Avenatti, I don't care about what he did sexually. I'm a libertarian. I don't care if he was gay. But I do know this. As a guy who did guard duty on the Berlin Wall, I know how to set a perimeter. I know what treason is. You give $10 billion to North Korea and 2 nuclear reactors and docks in Long Beach to China and North Korea. I know what treason is.
All right, let's let Michael respond to that, Frank. Go ahead, Michael.
So, Frank, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to seek political assistance from foreign leaders to assist him to win a campaign? Yes or no?
How is he assisting anybody to enlist winning a campaign? He got 63 million voters.
Frank, you didn't listen to my question. My question
You didn't answer
simple.
mine.
No,
you don't know what treason is.
Frank, you're not listening to my question.
Pay attention.
My question is very simple, okay? forget about Trump for a moment. Do you think it is appropriate for the President of the United States, whoever he or she may be, to seek the assistance of a foreign leader of another country to assist him or her to win an election for the United States presidency? Do you think that's
Thank you for reminding me. Bill Clinton did that too
Stop.
with China.
Don't do whataboutism, Frank. Answer the question.
No, it's not correct. And Bill Clinton did that too with China.
Okay, so we agree. Frank, I'm glad.
Ron Brown was murdered.
All right, Frank.
Of Bill
All right, Frank.
Clinton Inc.
Frank, for the record, Frank, I think you forgot to take your medication this morning. You sound very angry. 257-5.
Look, but let me say this for the listeners out there. Bill Clinton's not in office right now. Barack Obama is not in office. Jimmy Carter's not in office. I could care less at this point in our history what they did, because their conduct's not at issue. Let's assume that every one of them engaged in this same conduct. Guess what? That does not excuse away Trump's treasonous conduct and what he has done as it relates to seeking assistance from foreign powers to assist him in a political election.
Yep.
And by the way, let's just also remember, this is a guy that just came out of a 2-year investigation relating to Russia.
Uh-oh. Michael, your phone dropped out
Michael?
there. Did we lose Michael Avenatti? That's right. We'll get him back on the line.
He was accused of.
Go ahead, Michael. You dropped out there a little bit. I think we got you back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
So this is a guy that just got clear of a 2-year investigation relating to Russia, and he's stupid enough and he's a moron enough to immediately engage in basically the same conduct with Ukraine, China, and perhaps others.
Let's go back to the GCI guys hotline at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're on with Michael Avenatti. Go.
Yeah, I was wondering why they don't talk about Adam Schiff and when they paid for that Steele dossier, trying to overthrow a sitting president. That's treasonous right there.
Why are you talking about the dossier? We're not talking about the dossier. We're talking about Donald Trump and the situation with the Ukraine. Why are you bringing up the dossier?
Well, because they skip over everything.
They skip
Who's
over.
they?
Who's they? What
Who
are you
talking about?
What are you talking about, Steve?
The Trump haters and the people that want to try to destroy.
Okay, all right. We're not talking about the dossier.
You got 3.5% unemployment, lowest since 1969.
So it's okay. All right. So let's let Michael Avenatti. Let's. I know you want to do a laundry list of all the great things Donald Trump has done. Michael, why don't you go ahead and respond to Steve? This is exactly the kind of guy I was talking about.
Right, so I just want to understand this. Because there's 3.5% unemployment, because taxes are low, because we have a pro-life president, and because we have a president that supports gun control, because Adam Schiff did this, that, and another thing, because there was this dossier, because the Mueller investigation did not pan out as the Democrats claimed, because of all of those things, Donald Trump can do whatever the hell he wants. He can disregard the Constitution, and he can enlist the assistance of foreign powers to help him win an election. BS. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, folks.
I agree. No, I agree with you, Michael, 100%. 257-5396, joined by Michael Avenatti taking your calls. Let's go to Al. Al, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
So I'd like to make 2 points. One, I'd like to ask all of you, so when foreign leaders speak to each other, and I'm going to say this has happened from the beginning of our republic through today, what are they trying to do? They're trying to leverage what we have that they may need in return for something they have that we may want, correct? So it's when you talk about negotiating with other countries, treaties, and everything else we do, it's all about what can I give you to get what I want.
I'm gonna blow. Let me blow a
Hold on.
Well,
can we at
you
least
can
agree on that one point?
No, we can't agree because I want to blow a massive hole right now in your whole theory. Okay, we're not talking about somebody who's absolutely. Let's put it this way. Okay, the FEC chair Ellen Weintraub talked about this today and said it is quote unquote absolutely illegal for anyone. Okay, not even just the president, any official in this country to solicit, accept, or receive anything of value from a foreign national in connection with any election in the United States. So stop talking about how this is just you're just negotiating with a foreign leader. That's not what we're talking about here.
I get it, but so you're saying that you're using the fact that you're trying to tie it to the election specifically.
No.
Let's let Michael respond to that.
No. Let me jump in here.
Okay.
The premise is correct. General premise. Okay.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a foreign leader. The foreign leader is negotiating with the president of the United States. But my friend, they're negotiating for the benefit of their respective countries, not individually.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with the president of the United States saying, look, we want you to do X, Y, and Z for the benefit of the United States of America, and we will do X, Y, and Z for the benefit of your country. That happened since the beginning of time. But my friend,
so you're
that's
saying
not, wait a minute, you got to let me finish. You got to let me finish. That's not what we're talking about. Understand what we're talking about. We're talking about the president of the United. You got to let me finish. We're talking about the president of the United States trading benefits from the United States of America for his own personal benefit. That is illegal. It is treasonous.
I am wholeheartedly in agreement with what you just said. Here's where I disagree. How do you know that he was doing it for his own benefit? How come everybody's in this hysteria over Russian interference? So it would be okay if these things turned out to be true and Joe Biden did become our president? Would you be lined up with everybody else to impeach him if we found out that it's true, that him and his son did take advantage of his position and he did sell access to his office? That was where I was going, and that's one thing. And then one other thing, I just want to say one other thing real quickly.
We don't have time. I'm sorry, we don't have time. Michael, go ahead and respond to that. We got to get to some other calls.
You know what? If the evidence showed that, perhaps I would be supportive of removing Joe Biden from office. But Joe Biden is not presently in office. And look, as it relates to this question of how do we know that Trump was doing it for his own personal benefit, I mean, is that really a question? Can there really be any question at this point as to why Donald Trump was doing this? It's clear as day. He was doing it to assist him politically so that he wouldn't get beat in 2020 by Joe Biden. So, look, Donald Trump can do all the negotiating he wants on behalf of and for the benefit of the United States. What he's not allowed to do is trade United States assets for his own personal benefit. That's what this is about.
Let's try to squeeze in one more call before we go to break. And by the way, when we come back from break, we have a gentleman who wants to get in the ring with Michael Avenatti, who is running for Congress on the right. So we'll get to him on the other side of the break. But right now, let's go to BJ. BJ, you're on with Michael Avenatti. Go.
I know you missed me, Mr. Fleeson Sharp.
All right, BJ, thank you for the call. By the way, Mr. Sharp is not here.
Mr. Sharp's
today.
not even here, so he can't even.
Yeah, let's go to Josh. Josh, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. You're on with Michael Avenatti. Go.
I guess I had a question. What is exactly the smoking gun here? Can you quote exactly the crime, the quid pro quo? Because I've read the transcript and I've seen text, and there's nothing there that would convince the average person that a high crime or misdemeanor worthy of removing.
All right, Josh.
Trump
Let's let Michael respond to that. I completely disagree with you. I have a feeling Michael will too. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I don't know if there's one particular smoking gun, but I think there's a significant amount of evidence that proves without a doubt that Donald Trump sought to improperly influence one or more foreign officials to assist him personally. That's not appropriate. No president of the United States can seek the assistance of a foreign leader to assist him in gaining re-election, period. And that's even before you factor in the fact that he was basically willing to give military aid and other favors in exchange for the assistance. But let's assume there was no quid pro quo. Let's just assume that Donald Trump, as the president of the United States, called up the president of Ukraine, China, or others and said, hey, I really need you to help me so I can win re-election in 2020. Can you do me a solid and do A, B, or C? Let's assume that it was just that. That's illegal. You can't do that. That is absolutely a high crime and misdemeanor. Do we really want the presidents of China, Ukraine, and others to have leverage over the president of the United States as it relates to assisting him in winning re-election? I don't think so.
And Michael, and to the caller, I would say this also quickly, is that, look, smoking gun, you had the president on the lawn yesterday talk about, implications with both the Ukraine and with China. We had, in the last 12 hours, we've had text messages come out, okay, that have been very enlightening for the American public out there to understand what's transpired here. So I think there's a lot of evidence that this is something that is very problematic for the president.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We have Michael Avenatti on the line. We're going to take a quick break. If you want to join the conversation, you can and ask Michael or any of us a question. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. We have a gentleman who is running for Congress on the right who wants to get in the ring with Michael Avenatti next. We'll be joined by him and take your calls when we come back. You are listening to The Vegas Take. All right, rolling back on a Friday. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro with Chris Wynn filling in for Mr. Sharp. We'll be back on Monday, and we have Michael Avenatti on the line, and we're taking your calls at 257-5396. So a gentleman who called in who wanted to get in the ring with Michael. He ran for Senate back in 2010, and he's going to be running for Congress. Also, a professional poker player here in Las Vegas.
Right up our alley right there, right, Brian?
That's right. That's right. His name is Brian Nadell, and he called in, and I said, absolutely, let's give him an opportunity to call in and ask Michael some questions and have a good conversation. Brian, thanks for calling in. You're on with Michael Avenatti.
Well, thank you very much. And I guess you did a little bit of homework during those 10 or 15 minutes.
Of course.
Mentioning the professional poker player part of it. You wouldn't have probably known that just by my name. But, Michael, I wanted to actually, and to your audience, talk about a few things and let you know one thing off right in the beginning. I noticed when somebody said there, well, you get to listen to somebody from the right. Well, I kind of consider myself more of a centrist myself. I do lean center-right. But I'm also fairly socially liberal. I'm just conservative, fiscally thinking. And when you talk about presidents going back to Bill Clinton, which I'm old enough to remember him, I'm actually old enough to almost remember JFK, which was also a favorite president of mine. And I can tell you many reasons for it, as well as Reagan. And we're talking about Donald Trump. So I really want to let you know something. And hopefully this is a common sense conversation. I want you to know what a Trump supporter is like so you understand what the other side is thinking. I know what the people on the left are thinking. I was raised in California. Most of my friends are very liberal. I'm pretty much in the middle. I've been able to get along with them very, very well. Matter of fact, I almost feel like they're psychologists, but I do not have a degree in it. But let me tell you what a Trump supporter is. And
No. I'd like an opportunity to respond to a number of the things you've said, if I could.
Okay, sure, please.
All right. So first of all, you and I probably agree on more things than we disagree on. A lot of people have the mistaken belief that I'm some, far lefty. I'm left of center. I've been very outspoken about the fact that the Democratic Party shouldn't turn the keys over to the party over to AOC and others. I think a number of these people are far too liberal to be elected on a national level. If you know anything about me, or if you listen to me, people will. I've been uniform and I've been consistent in my position on that. So that's number one. You and I are probably a lot more aligned politically than you might think. Secondly, I agree with you that Donald Trump has convinced a large portion of America that he is all about America, that he is fighting for them, and that they have lost ground over the last 20 or 30 or 40 years. And when I say they, I am focused on Caucasian males. What Donald Trump did in 2016, and it really wasn't him, it was Steve Bannon and others that came up with this approach, and it was brilliant, frankly. He was able to tap in to this belief by Caucasian males that they have been losing ground for the last 30 years, losing ground to minorities, to African Americans, to women, etc. And that is a big part of what fueled his rise to power. But I want to focus on something that you said. This idea that Donald Trump is for America is a joke. It is an absolute disgrace. Donald Trump is for one person and one person only, and he always has been. That's absolutely...
Michael, I already know what you're going to say about these things.
No, but the idea that this guy, this absolute narcissist, is constantly looking out for America as opposed to his own self-interest is absurd, and it's undercut by a mountain of evidence relating to what he's done over the last 2.5 years. He doesn't care about America. He cares about himself.
Okay, if this was true, okay, and let's even go to the point to where you're coming from, and and I do want to say something to you. This whole thing in politics today, it's really hurting our country, Michael. It really is. We are not the United States of America. We are the divided states of America. There is no united anymore. And the reason for that, and I'm going to explain this to you real simple so you do understand. I have a lot of things in common with a lot of my liberal friends. We like to go see the same movies. We like to go to the same places for dinner. We like to go to the same sports, events. We enjoy a lot of things in common. We even agree with a lot of things that we say. And you know something? Now it's not even like that anymore. It's because it's almost like they have said, you're going to take a side, and you're either with us or you're with.
All right, Brian. Let's let Michael respond to that. Go ahead, Michael.
So Brian, I agree. We're more divided now than ever. But you know who I hold primarily responsible for that?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Right? He's the leader. Hold on a minute. He's the leader of the United States of America. He's supposed to represent everybody. But you know what this guy has done? From the very moment that he was sworn into office, he has treated his presidency as a campaign. This guy never stopped campaigning. It's always us against them. It's always been that way with him.
Michael, you really believe this, though?
Wait a minute. He has fueled division in this country like no other. And his state-run television network, Fox News, also has done the exact same thing. They are about dividing America, not unifying America. When's the last time that Donald Trump made any real effort at unifying this country?
You want to answer that question?
That's for you, Brian. Yeah, that question's for you.
All right, let's move on to the next caller.
Well, Brian. Let me ask you a quick question though. Because you're going into politics, right? So you're running for Congress.
This is only part of it, though. Don't you understand?
No, but let me ask you a very quick question because we have to get to. But let me ask you a very quick question. Isn't politics about addition, not subtraction? Right? And is there any indication whatsoever that Donald Trump has added anything to his base? He is, in fact, subtracted from his base. People have left him. They have not joined him. You don't have hordes of people in America coming and saying, you know what? I'm on the Trump train now. I am all on board. I am coming.
Well, a lot of people are afraid to say that, and you know it. You can't even wear a Make America Great hat anymore in this country without it being racist. My God, now if you give an okay signal, it's really bad. And if you say illegal alien now in some states, it's a $750,000.
Hey Brian, is it really bad?
Fine. Is it these are problems?
Is it really bad to call an illegal alien a rapist or bad people? And I suppose some of them are good people.
But let me ask you a question, and you can think of this too because it's common sense. These people, a lot of people that come into this country, they come in for a reason. They need jobs.
Right.
They come from suppressed
We agree.
places.
Go ahead.
We get it, okay? We understand it. But unfortunately, also, some of these people that come in really are bad, okay? We need to protect our country. You're a citizen of this country. When you go outside, don't you want to feel safer?
I'm a citizen of this country, and I feel
Absolutely.
like the majority of the illegals in this country are not bad.
Do you really feel safe in some of these areas? I was just in L.A., my friend, and you don't want to see this place. And I spoke to some of these homeless people, and it's sad.
Right. What's a higher percentage, really the amount of people that live in America that are criminals or the people that are coming to America as immigrants that are criminals? What's a higher percentage?
Well, obviously it would be people that were born in this country.
Okay.
There's so many more
that
of those,
destroys your whole argument that you just put forth.
Brian, listen,
Brian,
I appreciate you calling in.
But
Brian, I appreciate you calling in. I have to get to some other callers. We have a full deck of phone calls, and we want Michael Avenatti to get into a debate with some of the callers. We appreciate your phone call. Call again anytime. 257-5396 is the number to call. And by the way, good luck in your run in Congress. By the way, I will say that when he ran for Nevada Senate, he got 0% of the vote, which was 235 votes. So we wish you luck. 257-5396. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, thanks for calling in. You're on with Michael Avenatti. Go.
You know, Trump's done a lot of good for our country. He's got supposedly the lowest unemployment rate going. People like Avenatti, who's a Democratic hack.
Okay, hold on a second, Jimmy.
Never give that guy any credit.
Jimmy, we're going to let Michael Avenatti respond.
You can't just lob those without him responding.
If you want to have a debate, you're going to call him a hack. We're going to let Michael respond. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'm far from a Democratic hack. I mean, that's absolutely absurd. I'd love to hear the basis for calling me a Democratic hack. But before I hear you out on that, and I do want you to tell me exactly why I'm a Democratic hack. Look, we have a great unemployment rate, 3.5%. Absolutely. There's no question about that. Do I give Trump some credit for that? Absolutely. Does that mean that we look the other way and ignore his treasonous behavior? No. Does that mean that we allow him to basically enlist the assistance of foreign leaders to influence American presidential elections? Hell no.
The only people I see doing treason in this country is the Democrats and the deep state, like Brennan, Comey, Clapper. And you have to admit that, but you won't because you're a Democratic hack.
And there he goes again.
So
okay.
Let me just ask you a question. I want to ask you a question, sir. Do you believe that because we have a 3.5% unemployment rate, that it's okay for the President of the United States to enlist the assistance of foreign countries, at least one of
like
which
Hillary did?
You got to let me finish. Yeah, see, here you go again. You got to let me finish.
And the Democrats.
By the way, I don't think Hillary was president, although she should have been.
But she was
let me just ask you a question. You got to let me finish.
Biden,
you got to let me.
$50,000 a month, no show job.
Oh, geez.
You got to let me finish. Oh, you want to talk about the sons of political leaders?
Yeah.
Don Jr.
Hunter Biden's job.
Don Jr. and Eric Trump, two of the biggest criminals in America. I mean, these two punks.
Okay.
You don't think they're trading? You don't think they're trading their father's influence for financial assistance globally? But look, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question, sir. Do you believe it's acceptable for a president of the United States to ask a foreign leader to assist him so he can be reelected as president? Do you believe that's okay?
He never said that. You're putting words in his mouth. Just like, what's that guy's name who did the parody? The clown that did the parody,
Jimmy, with all due respect, the only clown in this conversation is you because you won't admit a very simple question that Michael Avenatti asked. 257-5396 is the number to call, and I believe our next caller is Dylan. Dylan, thanks for calling in. You're on with Michael Avenatti. Go.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I just saw on the Drudge Report before I was going to say what I was going to say. They're throwing toys on Elizabeth Warren's stage as she was speaking this morning. But anyway, on the subject I called about, I think I'm ready. I'm a Trump supporter, but I'm ready to vote for. I'd like to have him impeached and have. I'm ready for Pence because I think Pence could be one.
All right.
And,
yeah. So, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah. So the caller that was on there, the congressman runner, I've had enough of Trump, dude. He is a child, and he never did become presidential like he said he was going to be. And it's just getting worse. I really think he's getting senility or some type of...
I think you're right, Dylan. Dylan, I think you're right. Why don't we let Avenatti respond to that? And thank you for the call, by the way, Dylan. Yeah.
Look, you know what? I'm sure I disagree politically on a bunch of things with Dylan, but I respect his position, and I think he's absolutely right. And I think that as time progresses, if the Republicans are smart, what they're going to conclude is they got to cut the rope with this guy. They got to cut Trump loose because he's going to drag the entire party and potentially the U.S. Senate down with him if he's at the top of the ticket. I think they ought to jettison Trump ASAP, and they ought to open up their primary and allow people like Kasich from Ohio, who general election against any of the Democrats. I think he would be a formidable opponent. If Pence wants to run, so be it, although I think Pence would have a lot of problems. But the Republicans better figure this out in short order, because if they wait 6 months, it's going to be too late in my view. But I respect Dylan's position.
Yeah, thank you for the call, Dylan. Let's go back to the GCI Guys hotline, 257-5396. If you have a question, comment with Michael Avenatti. Let's go to Bob. Bob, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind? Bob, are you there? I think we lost Bob. 257-5396. Why don't we go to David? David, you're on next with Michael Avenatti. Go.
Hey, hello, guys. Hey, if this is such a open and closed case, how come they haven't taken a vote on impeachment? How come they're breaking all the rules on how they're going forward with this?
All right, Michael, go ahead and respond to that.
You know, I love this question. I was hoping that somebody was going to ask this question because, you know, Trump is saying, well, we're not going to respond to the subpoena until you take a vote in the House. You know, this is an absurd proposition. Why are they in such a hurry for a vote in the House? Why don't they want the investigation to play out? If the Democrats control the House, if they want to take a week or two or a month or two to fully investigate and gather the relevant evidence and make this case, make this case as strong as possible and then take a vote, they're entitled to do that. Imagine if they took a vote last week before the text messages had surfaced. They need to take a deliberative process, fully investigate this. I'm not saying it should last 6 months, but, you know, they should be permitted to take a few weeks or months and put their ducks in a row and gather all the evidence.
David, go ahead and respond.
But they don't even have the power to gather the evidence without the impeachment, do they? Legally. How come it's okay for them to bend the rules?
Absolutely, they have the power.
Everything they want to do. They don't have the power to ask for all these things that they want without bringing articles of impeachment.
No, they are entitled to engage in impeachment inquiry, issue subpoenas and the like, cause people to produce subpoenas or documents and testimony so that they can investigate, so that they can then make a determination as to whether impeachment charges should be filed. This whole argument about, well, why don't they take a vote right away? You know, when there's a murder or a violent crime investigation, nobody goes to the police and says, okay, you have set.
Did we lose Michael there?
To make a charge of it.
Go ahead, Michael. We got you back. Go ahead.
Yeah, when there's a violent crime and the police are called in to investigate, nobody puts a time limit on them of 7 days or 8 days to investigate whether a crime has been committed. Some of those investigations take a long time, and it's all about getting to the truth and determining what really happened.
We're taking your calls. Michael Avenatti joining us on the line. If you want to get in the ring with Michael, give us a buzz right now, 257-5396. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Of course, we're talking about the fiasco, which involves Donald Trump, the impeachment inquiry. Will Donald Trump be impeached inevitably? We will ask Michael Avenatti that in just a few minutes. Let's take another phone call. Again, 257-5396. Let's go to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're on with Michael. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all?
Good.
And thank you, Michael. You're my favorite citizen. And what I wanted to say is I want to thank you for walking us through this impeachment and taking your time to do that. And my question was really what the man right before me asked, but I wanted to know, where does Trump get off telling Nancy Pelosi what she can do? It's a co-equal branch of government, and he doesn't get to do that. Is it just because...
you're absolutely right. He doesn't get to do that. And I appreciate your kind words, although I think you have a very low bar for your favorite citizen. But, you know, what I will say is this. I mean, let's be clear. The reason why Trump wants the House to hold a vote as quickly as possible is that as soon as the vote in the House occurs and impeachment charges are issued, which they would be, articles of impeachment, then that effectively divests the House of jurisdiction, meaning they no longer have the ability to continue with this investigation. It then goes to the Senate. And that's really what Trump wants. Trump wants this to get to the Senate as quickly as possible with as little evidence as possible so that he can then be acquitted in the Senate and Mitch McConnell can gain control of this. That's what Trump wants. It's a strategic issue for him. It doesn't have anything else to do with anything other than that. That's why he wants the House to get rid of or to pass articles of impeachment so they no longer can investigate. But the House should be permitted, like I've said before, a few weeks, maybe even a couple months to get their ducks in a row. They need to be provided documents. They need to be provided testimony related to this impeachment. And what I predict is I actually think that we are headed towards a significant constitutional crisis in this country. And I don't use those words lightly. And I think it's going to center on the fact that the White House and others are going to provide documents. They're not going to provide testimony, et cetera. And we are going to be in store for a between the U.S. and the branch relating to the executive branch's ability to cover up evidence testimony and the like. And I think it's a serious issue.
So, Michael, we only have a few more minutes left. I guess this is a two-part question. It's a loaded question here for you. Number one, do you think that we will see a time here in the next few weeks, in the next month, in the next several months, maybe 6 months, that Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham will turn on the President of the United States? And ultimately, do you think that Democrats will get enough evidence in the bag to be able to impeach this guy?
So here's what I think. I think that impeachment charges will issue from the U.S. House likely within the next 60 days. And, I said on your show a week ago, or thereabouts, that the most important relationship that Donald Trump has on planet Earth is his relationship with Mitch McConnell. Because if Mitch McConnell turns on him, if Mitch McConnell determines that he's a political liability and could cost the Republicans the Senate, that's all she wrote. They'll either figure out a way to convict him or they'll force him out of the presidency in order to save themselves. I think there's a possibility that happens, although, I just read today that Mitch McConnell is raising money with the argument that he is the one that can stop the impeachment. So thus far, it appears that he is staying loyal to Donald Trump and that he's going to ride this thing out with him. But, I think that could change depending on what else surfaces. And I think a lot of Republicans are very skittish right now because they don't know what else is out there. They don't know what other text messages or emails or recorded calls are out there. And with this guy, he's so unpredictable, anything could be out there.
Yeah. So you think, Michael, quickly, that it's going to come down to a numbers game with respect to the Senate, and it's going to be 50-plus senators, really, the Republicans, that are going to have to make that decision?
Look, I think there's no question it's going to be very difficult to ultimately remove Trump from office based on articles of impeachment. I think the House will pass them. I think that Trump will stand trial in the Senate, and I think the Democrats face an uphill battle in the Senate. But like I've said before, I've tried enough cases. You don't know what's going to happen in a trial. You don't know what evidence is going to come out. I mean, all kinds of things could happen. Look, 2 weeks ago, if I would have told you that everything that's happened over the last 2 weeks was going to happen, Ukraine, the text messages, the transcript, this, that, you guys would have told me I was out of my mind, right? So you don't know what's going to happen. So it's very difficult to predict. I do not agree that you can just say, just as an absolute, well, the Senate's never going to convict him. I don't believe that. I think we have to play it out.
Michael, always appreciate your insight. Fun hour of radio, always, when we have you on every week. We'll catch up with you soon again next week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about, I have a feeling. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend.
All right, enjoy your weekend. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Michael. Attorney Michael Avenatti joining us. Always a fiery hour of radio when Michael joins us, and we appreciate all your phone calls. So when we come back, his name is Mattress Mac. What does that mean? And he bet $3.5 million on a baseball team. We'll get to this story, and Mattress Mac will be joining us next on the Vegas Take. Be back right after this, folks.